Hi and welcome to the 5-Minute Business Boost, where you get to choose your 5-minute investment. It could be topics under the headings, business development, marketing or photography, or even a mix of all three. There'll be discussions, reviews, how-tos, tips and tricks, and so much more, depending on how I, your host, Sam Hicks, is feeling. So possums, listen up and here we go. Hi, Sam Hicks here and welcome to the 5-Minute Business Boost. In this episode I'm talking about don't judge a book by the cover. Years ago, yes, I'm sorry, it's a story, I was chipping away at my small commercial and hobby ceramic business in a commercial factory in Melbourne. Things were busy with students, there were wholesale and retail clients coming in and out, keeping us busy, and of course the kilns were firing. One day I was working in the showroom assisting with customers and a scruffy-looking gentleman walked in. I greeted him with a smile and said, "Welcome, and I'll be with you in a few moments. Feel free to walk around." So off he wandered. After my customer at the register left, I turned my attention to him. I was curious as to why he was here. He was very well spoken and inquired about us doing some work for him at a wholesale level for resale to retailers. I said, "Sure, what shapes?" And he went around the showroom and the main retail area and picked out about 10 to 15 items. He carefully placed them on the floor and said, "These, exactly like they are here, the shapes, the finishes, everything." He inquired about the wholesale prices. I looked them up in our catalogues, back then it was paper, and I had prices in mind. I said, "How many are you looking for?" Meaning how many units. And he said, "Oh, I'll have 50 units of each." I stood quiet there for a moment. "Yes, I know." And then he said, "Is that okay?" And I said, "Well, you realise that'll be about 500 to 750 units. Are you sure?" Because I'm thinking it's quite a large order for somebody that I don't know. And he said, "Yes, I am. I'm very sure." We talked about expectations of deliveries. We talked about timelines. We talked about packaging. I finally said the price that I'd need, and he was happy with the prices. And I said, "Oh, look, I'd need a deposit to secure the order," because I thought, well, this is going to sort out the men from the boys. With that, he took out a crumpled up checkbook. Okay, now, given it was 20-odd years ago, folks, and he said to me as he was scribbling out, "Would 50% up front be okay?" And I was a bit gobsmacked and I was very embarrassed at this stage and I said, "Oh no, that'd be perfect." With that, he presented me with a cheque and said, "I'll send a courier in 2 weeks and I'm happy to pay COD. I'm like, oh my God, this is a client from God, this is amazing. Anyway, he said, "Have a great day." And I said, "Yep, yeah, you too." And he left quietly. He got into his car and his car was a very old, dusty and dented Mercedes, but with a wave of his hand off he went. He turned out to be one of my biggest clients regularly for 4 years. The moral of the story is don't judge a book by the cover. How many times have we quickly judged others? The old adage of don't judge a book by its cover or never judge a book by its cover refers to the idea that you shouldn't make a snap judgment on someone or something based just on their appearance alone or your initial impression without fully understanding the circumstances or their backstory. If I'd gone with my initial thought, I may not have scored another order or an ongoing one of that. And in business, you can't afford to judge books by their covers. And yet we are presented with these situations all the time. Now, I'm not saying don't listen to the gut instinct, especially if you're a female in business, as females have very good internal BS detectors. I'm just saying before you pass judgment, listen or observe for a little while longer, as initially you might be way off the mark. Now, don't get me wrong, men get heebies too. Very much so. Many years ago, we had a client that was generous and he worked with both the moth and myself. He was very easy to work with. He was brilliant on so many levels. Anyway, many years later, after that, I was reading an article one day and here he was up on the front cover in all his glory and he was up on national fraud charges. OMG. When I mentioned this to the moth, the man of the house, he said, "Oh, when I was near him, Sam, he always gave off some negative vibes. And I'm like, yeah, sure. He said, no, fair income. He said, the hairs on the back of my neck would stand up. But he couldn't put his finger on exactly what the problem was. Yikes. Anywho, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe, follow or share. Feel free to get in contact with me, sam@samhicks.com.au, to suggest a topic for discussion. And remember, in business, anything is possible, especially in the northeast of Victoria. Until next time, cheerio.